Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. I am Michael Cottingham, and I have the pleasure of serving as Chief Marketing Officer at United Way of Greater Greensboro. On behalf of our Board of Directors and staff, welcome to this year's final Theories of Change, the Centennial series. We're so excited you joined us today, and we are even more excited to hear from our guest, Anthony Morgan, who offered some welcoming words as you were joining in just a few moments. But before we get started, I wanted to let you know why United Way of Greater Greensboro has held 6 of these meetings so far this year. Way back on March 1st, your United Way celebrated its centennial anniversary in this community. As part of this celebration, we wanted to make sure we took the time to educate our community, not only about our history, but also about our current work and future plans. So the Theories of Change have enabled us to do just that. And we had the ongoing support of our Theories of Change sponsor, VF Corporation, along the way. So thank you, VF. Over the past 100 years, our work has focused on the importance of bringing the community together to address its greatest needs. Our mission has always been led by and defined by volunteers and caring people in the community. Such was the case a few years ago when this community informed United Way that poverty was the issue we needed to address. At United Way, our strategy for ending poverty is grounded upon the research-based integrated service delivery approach. This theory of change model connects people to key areas of service and support. At United Way, we believe helping youth transition from cradle to career is key. We believe helping adults land jobs and increase income is key. And we believe providing access to basic needs in healthcare is key. And in all of this, we believe in making these supports more easily accessible by bundling services and removing barriers. We do that at our Family Success Centers, as well as our current pilot project, Guilford Success Network. Today, we're going to discover the power of working together as a community. And I'm here to tell you, when we work together, when we advocate for one another and for positive change, we can accomplish bold things. So let's take a few minutes to watch this short video, which happens to feature today's guest, and I think you'll understand what I mean.
Our community has spoken.
And it's time for all of us to face reality.
The pandemic and the renewed civil rights movement
highlighted real challenges many families face.
And the often overlooked existence of local poverty.
Facts can no longer be disputed.
Poverty is an everyday truth for over 57,000 people in Greater Greensboro.
1 out of every 4 children
In Greensboro is growing up in poverty.
There are neighborhoods in our community
Where over 40% of the population
Have lived in poverty for multiple generations.
Poverty is relentless.
and decades of systemic issues
Have disproportionately impacted people of color.
These facts are unacceptable.
Our community has proven time and time again
that we can accomplish anything when we are united.
That's why for over a year, United Way of Greater Greensboro listened to
And collaborated with thousands of people in our community.
To take our efforts of ending local poverty to the next level.
Together, we developed a bold goal that belongs to all of us.
As a community united in equity and lasting solutions,
3,000 households in Greater Greensboro.
We'll leave generational poverty by 2030.
Imagine, on average, over 300 households per year.
Leaving poverty over the next 9 years.
At United Way, everything we do is committed to helping people leave poverty.
We collaborate with nonprofits, businesses, leaders,
and caring people from all across our community
to generate collective impact. United, we will achieve the bold goal
by creating and funding strategic partnerships
with proven outcomes
that provide education, training, and support
to help people get jobs that can provide for their households.
We'll continue to operate our nationally recognized Family Success Centers,
where children and adults are receiving coordinated services in one location.
And bold goals require bold innovation.
which is why we're developing a countywide mobile-friendly network
that will connect people to services
and coordinators
that will help them identify,
track, and achieve their personal goals of leaving poverty.
We cannot do this work alone.
It's time to put our collective efforts into building a community that benefits all of us.
Local children, adults, and families need your support.
It's time to be bold.
Visit unitedwaygso.org
To learn more, take action, and make a donation today.
I love that video. It really represents why we're here today, to focus on solutions that help people in our community leave poverty. Some of those solutions come from services and supports, and some of those solutions are made possible when we address systemic issues. So let's get started. Let's first define what we mean by advocacy and putting together an agenda. You may have heard United Way use the words give, advocate, volunteer. Historically, we've been pretty good at asking people to give or make investments, and we've been pretty good at getting people to volunteer. But when it comes to advocacy, we've got some room for improvement. As an organization, after we watched our community come together to respond to racial inequities and the impact of COVID, we knew it was our responsibility to take this area of our work to the next level. At United Way, we also use the tagline, Live United, and we literally mean that. We want all people from all walks of life and political agendas to live united. We are nonpartisan, so that means we side with what we can all find in common. And that's actually a great place to be, because as humans, we have more in common than not. And as your local United Way, we're focused on our community's common purpose to help children, adults, and families leave poverty. So our advocacy agenda will be focused on addressing common issues of poverty. Now, what do we mean by an agenda? A few months ago, we created a survey asking people to rank their top 5 issues that they thought United Way should address when creating an advocacy agenda. Today, we're going to present survey results that will help us begin defining the agenda. And as you may have guessed it, what our community asked us to focus on will be categorized in key focus areas that we mentioned a few moments ago, and that will help us support our theory of change. Simply put, once created, the agenda will assist our community in reaching our common goal. As United Way works to define the agenda, we will be forming a committee, considered a think tank, of representatives who are willing to help us create a strategy. This group will help us move beyond conversation so that we can engage our community in meaningful ways to produce meaningful change. We do not want to recreate the wheel. We will work to identify existing efforts that we can help push to create big and little changes. But where we find gaps to create new opportunities or abilities to combine existing efforts, we'll seek to bring our community together in new ways. Ultimately, we want to design an agenda that gives local companies, organizations, and individuals clear ways they can engage to create positive change. Those opportunities could be as simple as using your voice to share a message. It could be more substantial and result in companies updating their hiring practices. Or it could be as big as asking our community leaders to enact policy changes. The agenda will offer ways people can support big P and little p changes. Now that we have a little more context, let's check out our survey results. So I'm going to do a quick screen share. So today we're going to take the first steps of establishing that agenda. First up, a little bit of a breakdown on the survey and approach. I need to give major props to Zoe Wynn, a Greensboro Day School student who is now attending Georgetown, who helped us conduct this survey and pulled together some of our findings from many events across our community. From an overview standpoint, the survey represents over 100 individual responses who were asked to rank their top 5 issues. And of really cool note, These results are in line with a survey we conducted a few years ago to help us create our bold goal, which was completed by over 2,000 people. So we're finding some pretty common themes. The internal audiences existed of United Way Worldwide. They actually have an advocacy agenda. Internally, we surveyed our staff, which also included senior team members. Externally, we surveyed our funded partners, community members at large, and leaders at large. And then we also had some people who identified as other, and those people were non-funded partners in the community, or potentially even companies. So internally, I think everyone's seen a Venn diagram before, but internally, if we were to look at commonalities among all of the things that people identified as things that we should focus on, I'll sort of hone you in on the middle there where things overlap. Expand and secure safe and affordable housing was a pretty common theme. Ensuring affordable access to quality childcare was a theme. We've got some music coming from somewhere, guys. We can mute that. That'd be great. And then investing in more workforce development and expanding career education opportunities. Externally, and I'm just going to be hitting highlights with this, ensuring housing stability, workforce development, stronger wages, addressing mental health needs, improving primary care, access to primary care, and medical supports. Overall, the combined top themes of internal and external, from a ranking standpoint, the community has told us ensuring housing stability is the number one. Stronger wages for all to maintain the self-sufficiency standard, number two. More resources to address mental health needs, number three, and so on. You can see that each one of those areas is ranked top to bottom and left to right on your screen. Now, from United Way standpoint and our advocacy agenda themes, kind of the key areas we mentioned earlier, right? Financial stability, that's helping adults land jobs and build income, access to basic needs in healthcare, and educational achievement. That's the cradle to career standpoint that we're focused on. And in all of this, we want to offer these things from a holistic approach and make it easier for people to access services. So from a financial stability standpoint, number one, stronger wages for all to maintain the self-sufficiency standard. If you guys are questioning, well, what is the self-sufficiency standard? I'll give you a really brief explanation. That is, there's a threshold where a household is defined as living in poverty, and then there's a threshold that is defined locally as being self-sufficient. That self-sufficiency standard means what it takes for, say, a family of four to live without any subsidized assistance along the way. So that's what self-sufficiency standard means. Promoting workforce development and career technical education, increasing opportunities for financial literacy. Access to health, more resources to mental health. Mental health is something that continues to come up in our community. Improving access to the primary care physicians and other medical supports. Increasing accessibility and affordability of healthcare for all, and even Medicaid expansion, addressing basic needs through ensuring housing stability, more affordable housing, increasing access to healthier foods, accessible public transportation, ensuring affordable access to quality child care leads up the educational achievement area, as well as expanding public funding for early childhood education and increasing opportunities for management training. Now, these were not the only things, but these are the top three in each one of those areas with their overall ranking number beside them. And last but not least, people were also allowed to give us some notes, right? What other things should we be focusing on? The community did adamantly, commonly say, we need to continue to try to address racial disparities within the community. We need to try to mobilize voter education and voters, as well as educate and potentially address policy changes around that benefits cliff. And that benefits cliff is from someone's journey out of poverty to that self-sufficiency standard, as they increase in income, sometimes there are benefits they receive along the way that get dropped, that make it harder for them to continue that upward mobility. So with that said, we're going to get back to our meeting, and let's see. All right. So once again, the community has spoken and United Way is listening. As mentioned, we're going to put together a think tank to help us identify what we can do as a community to address these issues. We've already received confirmation from local leaders representing colleges, young professionals, the local nonprofit consortium, healthcare, and more. And I'm so happy and honored to say that the co-chair of this committee is with us today. He's going to help us answer some questions, really just in general, get us moving in the right direction, right? I'll start out with a few of those questions, but we do want to hear from you. So please submit your questions in the chat and we will do our best to answer them as well. Anthony Morgan is no stranger to engaging and challenging people to create positive change. After the murder of George Floyd, Anthony mobilized thousands of people in this community to peacefully take to the streets to highlight injustice and inequity, and to challenge our community to create systemic change. He very quickly put his words into action and is currently the executive director and co-founder of We the People, a nonprofit focused on academic success, coaching, and it's open for all ages and genders 13 and up. He has led efforts that produced a citywide settlement with the family of Marcus Smith, a local homeless man who died in police custody in 2018. Thanks to his efforts, the Black Lives Matter street mural was painted during the recent Juneteenth, repainted during the recent Juneteenth to recognize the ongoing efforts to build bridges of understanding. Our communities continue to grow closer because of this work. But I'll tell you this, his proudest accomplishment is becoming a father this year, which led to discovering even more reasons he wants to help our community thrive. Please join me in welcoming today's guest and personal friend, Anthony Morgan.
Thank you, Michael, for that great introduction. And thank you all for joining us. I'm super blessed to be gracing the space and to be a part of a 100-year celebration where we are coming at change aggressively. I'm blessed to be a part of the whole makeup of just this whole thing. And I'm really blessed for our relationship, Michael. I love to see how action oriented you are since we've come into contact to each other, and you've been able to take my story and use it, I feel like, as a battery charger for what you do at United Way and how you incorporate our friendship and my actual struggle and personal experience as a Black man in this world to further the work at United Way. I'm really blessed for that relationship.
That's awesome to hear, Anthony. Yeah, our team here is dedicated to walking the walk and not just talking the talk. So I really appreciate that. I know our team loves to hear that. So thank you for those encouraging words. So let's jump in with some Q&A. All right,
Okay.
let's get people on this call, excited. So first question, when it comes to your advocacy efforts recently, why did you jump in?
Well, I jumped in to diversify the space. I feel like, I have a lot of passion for the evolution of humanity. And I've decided to become a servant for my community because that's where the change really starts. It's right here in our communities. I'm from this community and I love this community with all my heart. So I try to use that passion to open doors for others, to walk through and create paths for others to walk on. And, that's what I do. I felt like I had to jump in. It's not enough people that look like me in this space. And so we're cultivating that space for young men and young women all around the world to be able to feel like they're welcome in this space and that they can grow in this space and evolve in this space and help, the evolution of all of humanity.
Wow. I mean, that's many great reasons to jump in. And as mentioned in the intro, recent father, you have a generational mindset into your work, and that's refreshing. And I think one of the first times we met, I said, you know what, Anthony, you're such a leader in the community, and we really appreciate your voice and what you're trying to do. So, using your voice, obviously, you were able to move some people. What do you think really makes people join a movement?
I think it's when our emotional compasses actually become a little bit distracted. I'll let that person mute real quick. It's all good. It's all good. I think that just in general, people have to feel emotionally tied to an issue, right? It has to pull on the facts of humanity, that we all deserve, equality. We all deserve to be able to walk down the street and feel like we belong and exist on the same plane, just in a human form. And I think when that is altered and a person sees that there's a serious problem that needs to be solved, that's what makes somebody actually want to join a movement. Because a lot of people join a moment, right? Something happens in time and people join the moment. They don't actually commit to the full movement because they weren't torn enough emotionally or spiritually or whatever they believe in that makes them commit fully to a movement. So what we have to recognize is that, people are guided by their emotional compass. If they don't feel that this is something that, is directly connected to them, then it's almost nearly impossible for them to commit their heart to it and dedicate, their emotions and their energy to a movement. So it takes you being tied to it emotionally.
Wow. I'm taken aback by that response, especially around the raw reality of people joining a moment rather than a movement. And I think there's a lot of work to be done in that space. So thank you for reminding us that just because people show up once doesn't mean that they're gonna continue to show up.
Right.
How did you identify really and approach people in this community to accomplish some of your goals? And you're still working to make change in this community. What have you done to approach people and accomplish those goals?
Well, really, it's a constant work, right? Like, as you said, I'm a baby in the space, and I'm still cultivating my way of communicating with people. But the way that I've identified with people are those who are in this for the evolution of all humanity, right? And are action-oriented people. And so I try to surround myself with those that don't just talk about the change, but actually exercise the change with their existence. And that's how I identify my partners. That's how I identify those that I want to dedicate my energy and time to work with. And I'm real serious about that, right? Because this is an intentional mechanism that's being created to keep people down, and it has to be intentionally undone. So you have to pair yourself with partners in the community that are action oriented and willing to put their money where their mouth is and not waste moments, right? With talking, one of my mentors told me that deals are lost with time, right? And with this, we don't have a lot of time to waste. So each one of us, when we want to change, we want to see a change all the way through, we need to be dedicating time and our action and our energy into the problem, with the problem being this big. So that's how I choose my partners, and I'm going about it very strategically.
That's again, you're getting comments in the chat. I'm not sure if you've seen those, but people really thanking you for sort of joining and sharing your story so far. And I think you've just started, so that's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, and so people are already saying great job, and I'll take this time too. Those of you who are on the call, if you haven't heard yet, please submit your own questions to Anthony. We'll try to answer those in the chat as well. So Anthony, who are you seeing, right? Who are you seeing signing up? Who are you seeing as being what types of people or corporations? Who are you seeing actually show up in the space and support the change in the community so far?
I will say, just from my personal experience, United Way for sure, right? You guys have, since we've come together, I feel like you've made a very intentional space for us to build, to grow, and to address problems that are coming up And I really appreciate that. You know, as far as in our community, though, I don't think that there's truly an accountability system that holds people truly accountable for the change that we're saying that we're bringing forth, right? So I've dealt with individuals who want to bring about change. Have I been able to see it on a corporate level that affects Black people economically? I cannot say I have. I don't think that we have enough systems in place to really help Black people evolve and people of color evolve and those that are being overlooked in this whole game evolve in a way that I can say these are the people signing up. There's a lot of people that talk a good game, right? You know, but I want to see the work actually materialize outwards, you know, beyond statements, beyond just gestures, beyond that. I want to see physical change in our communities where we can say that our communities don't depend upon welfare in the system. We actually operate in a space where we have the capacity to have our own financial literacy understanding and to be able to exercise it and build economically and to build our own systems. Like, I want to see that. And so I think the more of that I see, that's how I would be able to identify and say, these are the people signing up for change. Yeah. Individually, though, I think we have a lot of great players, and we do have a lot of great organizations in Greensboro, like NCCJ, Cure Violence, you know, even some of the police officers at GPD. You know, I have a good mentor, Ernest, and he works for GPD, and he's been a servant of the city for over 20 years. And he has made a lot of time to pour into me and have conversations with me. And I really appreciate that, you know, he's a police officer, and the depiction of what they try to show us and display us as these officers in our community, they're not like Ernest, but Ernest is a good guy, and he's over a lot of our officers. So he's like, you know, he's changed my perspective on a lot of things and helped me to be a better servant for the community as well. AZ Development, Andy Zimmerman is a mentor of mine. I think that I really appreciate it. He makes time for me. You know, I think mentorship, it ties like right back into the We the People model, you know, with mentorship, you know, your mentors can open doors for you and pull you up, right? It's like the ladder effect. You know, you get up a level and then you throw the ladder down. And I think that as Black people and young Black men like myself, it's very vital to have those type of players in the game that can help pull you up and throw the ladder down. So then when you get in position, you can throw the ladder down. And it creates that trifecta of just, you know, change that just keeps on going, you know? I would say Robert Winslow is another good friend of mine who is very, very active in my life and pours into me. We are actually working on something within We the People that's going to be pretty amazing because of him. And he's put his money where his mouth is. So I love that. Sean McLaughlin, I can keep going. You know, Debbie McLaughlin, she actually used to work for VF. I mean, you know, these are great mentors of mine that poured into me intellectually, emotionally, and it's paid off big time. You know, they pulled me under their wings, and that's awesome. Change that we need to see magnified into our communities, into the places where people are being overlooked.
That's awesome, Anthony. You keep dropping so many just wonderful nuggets of wisdom along the way. Constant reminder of, as you move up, dropping a ladder down to bring someone, you know, up along the way is so important. I'm also, you know, I think from the way you answered that, you really sort of in a way said that you have a diverse set of people who have really shown up in various places of the community, and that that you've sort of had an open mind along the way. So I think that's definitely key. You know, what were some of the challenges? What are some of the challenges that you're running into still? You know, and certainly there's some challenges that you've run into mobilizing people. And how have you sort of overcome some of those challenges or addressed those challenges?
Well, generationally, Michael, this is a space where we've been excluded from, right? With that being said, the real challenge is navigating the technical space. You know, you have to come into a technical space and you have to be able to separate the emoting from the actual action of the problem, right? And for me, as being so tied to the actual struggle and the plague that's upon Black people right now, it's very tough for me to separate the two. So I incorporate my passion into my work, but it still has to be a technical way about change. It has to be structural. It has to be systematic. It has to be strategical, right? So that is the challenge, you know, is trying to educate a people that have been excluded from this process of the importance of the process, you know, and what the process actually looks like. We have been separated from it, you know, so when you're separated from the mechanics of how something works, you got to take it to the actual mechanic to get it fixed. And that's the position that we're in right now. We don't have a clear understanding of how this thing works, from voting to financial literacy to things that we deal with in mental health spaces. We've been neglected, you know, as a people. In America, you know, we've been very, very neglected, and that negligence has led to a social ill. And that social ill creates other dynamics that we have to deal with and navigate, and navigating those to get people on the same page, to organize, to communicate with each other, to break down the barrier to work with white people, right? When you have been traumatized over generations by a system created by a majority of white people, and these white people's bias actually is shown in how we are living our day-to-day lives, it's hard to overcome that, but we have to work with white people, right? So that open mind, I have to navigate that daily, and I have to understand that the only way forward is through the we model, not the me model. You know, that's what my nonprofit is about. It's about addressing those social ills and creating that pipeline to work with different people to diversify these spaces and to, you know, navigate these issues together, because we all deal with these same issues. It's not like I'm the only person that deals with these issues. I just happen to be blessed in a position to help people to navigate these issues, right? Mm-hmm. So that's what I deal with, though, man. It's tough trying to get people to understand when you're so close to the problem, right? When you're so close to a problem, it's hard to really see it. So most people in the struggle never get a chance to kind of just sit back and look at it on a bigger level, to really perceive things for what they are and the importance of why they matter. If people don't feel that they matter and the system doesn't work for them, then how can you convince them to want to be a part of the change? How can you convince them that the change is actually for them? So it's tough. It's you got to be up and close, and you got to show people that you care, you know, and you got to navigate that part. You got to navigate people, you know, and you got to truly love people to do that. So you know, because it's tough, right? It's not always easy trying to be in that space and trying to get people to come together around an idea that helps push humanity forward.
Yeah. That's something that just stood out too, is, you know, not the me model, the we model.
I love it.
You know, and you know, for those of you who may have joined after we played our bold goal video at the beginning, you know, part of the systemic issues of poverty are rooted in systemic systems. So, and those systems have, as Anthony's mentioning, really disproportionately impacted people of color. It's not just locally, but across the U.S. So United Way's work to address poverty has to address, by essence, that system's change. So thank you for reminding us of that importance. No problem. What, you know, I mean, right? Like, we're talking about systemic change. I mean, you're talking about white people, Black people. We're talking about making change, and that's hard for some people. What do you think organizations, you know, businesses in United Way, you know, what do we need to know to enter really this space of trying to mobilize our community around a common theme of coming up with ways that we can work together to address systems change around poverty, around helping someone land that job, around getting them that career, around breaking down those barriers? What do organizations need to know? What do businesses and individuals need to know to really enter this space?
Well, first, I would say this has to be a very transparent space. It has to be an honest space, and it has to be an open-minded space where we have to really, really address the issues that are like red tape around opportunity. And when we look at the percentage of Black people in leadership positions, let's just give it an overall 13%, right? And these are in the positions that affect us the absolute most. And you have to go through almost a hazing situation to be in these positions of leadership. So what we have to understand is that we need to be pipelining these minority kids that are missing out on opportunity from middle school to middle management in a way that removes all obstacles and helps to provide resources that help kids create their own paths and create their own futures. I think that we have to understand that this is a fragile space too. You know, we're navigating years of trauma and generational poverty where once again, there has been a red tape put around opportunity, meaning you have to have a degree. You can't have certain things on your record. What are we willing to do to bypass these things and give people a second opportunity that have been targeted by a system that is already made up of 90% white people? You know, we are policed by a system that is created by the majority white people. And so, of course, you're gonna, you know, we don't look like white people, you know? So it's like, of course, you know, white people are gonna make rules, and, you know, for the betterment of their people. But I think that we are evolving past that, where we understand that is just matter, you know, and understanding that there has been some crazy stuff done. There has been some crazy stuff done that cannot be undone, and that has to be accounted for, right? We cannot overlook what has happened to us as a people. That has happened to us in America, has happened to us globally, and it has not been truly addressed in the capacity that it needs to be. So we can't come into this in a way where, as organizations, we have all this money and we're willing to just dump money on a problem. We have to actually understand that this problem has created social ills, that have created mental ills, that have created a generational pipeline of trauma. And in order for people to have a real change, you have to create a space for real change. And what are we willing to do? We have to be patient. We have to be very patient. We have to meet people where they are in a very technical space, in a very technical age. We have to meet people right there where they are. And if we're not willing to do that, then the change will never come about. As organizations, we have to be willing to be bold. What does that change look like? How bold are we willing to be in our communities to bring about a change that is innovative, that's unheard of, that creates generational pipelines of wealth and not trauma? You know, that takes kids straight from the hood, straight into $500,000 jobs without any obstacle, right? That's a possibility. Let's be bold in our thinking. Let's be innovative in the way that we act. Let's be let's understand that we don't have all the answers, right? Mm-hmm. Let's forever be seeking, always seeking answers, knowing that this is an issue that we are humans with individual perspectives, and we have to continue to tackle it daily with that mindset that we don't have all the answers, and we will always forever continuously be seeking.
Wow. Yeah, you're getting a lot of comments in the chat too, continually. You know, social ills leading to mental ills, leading to generational trauma. Definitely got some people responding, and that, I'm telling you, that is systemically generational poverty locally. You know, I mean, there are pockets of our communities living in poverty that have lived in generational poverty for years, and it is directly tied to a lot of the things that you're talking about. Someone in the chat did ask, what do you like? You know, Anthony, would you please define the space?
The space. Okay. The space is, first of all, you have to feel a feeling of belonging to maximize fully in the space. And so the space it's very preppy, you know, it's very tight. It's very uncomfortable for a Black man like me who doesn't have a degree from some prestigious college, that's self-educated and self-taught by mentors, and taught by people that have pulled me under their wing, by my grandparents, by my fathers, by my uncles, I have lived experiences, right? You know, it's hard for me to navigate that space that you need a certain qualification in order to even be in a space where you are accepted and your knowledge is deemed respectable, right? You know, if you don't have the criteria to be in a space, which this space looks uptight, as I said, it's boxed in, just like the office that you're in right now. That is the space. The space is that we don't operate outside of a space where this problem is spaceless. So we confine it. It's you have to look a certain way, right? You know, you can't represent what you truly feel on the inside. You know, you people aren't transparent. People aren't honest. People aren't willing to say what is truly on their hearts. In a space where you cannot speak your heart's intentions truly, then there's no such thing as real change happening. It's no such thing.
Right. Yeah. That space really is defined by some of our bubbles, right?
Mhm.
And really finding your way into those bubbles, but really the inside of that bubble is the same common space as everyone else's bubble. That's again profound. Someone else in the chat did say, I hope this is recorded because this is profound. Folks would pay good money to listen to this. LOL. That's great to hear. We are recording, and we will be sharing the recording of this conversation to everyone who RSVP'd. So be on the lookout for that after today's meeting. I will again remind everyone, if you have a question, please submit that in the chat. We do want to hear from you along the way. So Anthony, people, you know this, right? I keep saying, hey, you're a new father.
Yeah, I love it.
How busy, right? How busy that can be. But even outside of life, I mean, we live in a society that is, constantly bombarding us with reasons to pay attention to something, right?
Right.
So what are you finding, as effective? How are you reaching people in this community to support your work?
Well, I've been super strategical because what I'm noticing is that this is a really huge problem, right? The attention span of the human being right now is so short that we have to meet people where they are simultaneously and instantly, faster. We have to figure out a faster way to create change. People are being drawn into so much every single day, beyond just trying to exist. We're still trying to tap into our happiness. We're still trying to, take care of our families. Some of us are just trying to find our way, and trying to balance all of that is really hard. So I think that I'm trying to meet people exactly where they are. I'm trying to be very innovative in the way that I'm approaching this whole change thing, right? I want to develop an app actually that I'm in the process of developing right now that puts change in people's hands. And in the same way that you can navigate an app or Instagram or Twitter, we have to create those same type of mechanisms to meet people where they are every single day. Technology is what the world is evolving to and already is. And we will either be the subjects of technology forever, or we will utilize technology to advance humanity, which is what I hope we do. This change, it has to be hand in hand with technology. It has to be something where we are putting change in people's hands constantly every single day, and also using technology to intentionally diversify spaces. We have to use software. We have to use artificial intelligence. We have to have a faster thought process about how this change is happening, because people are dying because of this slow process of change. We're kicking the can down the street. We're not pouring enough money into it, and so each generation is still lacking from the lack of what the last generation should have done. So we have to act faster. We have to meet people where they are. We can have a lot of conversations, but this change has to be immersive. It has to be interactive. We have to create more content. We have to pour more money into content. Content is something that right now is the epic center of humanity. We watch Netflix, we watch Hulu, we watch YouTube TV, we watch the news, we watch rap videos, we watch country music videos. I mean, I can go on and on and on. We consume all day long. So how do we make change immersive to the point where people want to consume it? That's what this has to be. Change has to be, it has to be interactive, and it has to be immersive. It has to be entertaining, because that is what's making the world turn right now. That's what people are doing to pass their time. So we have to either we're in competition with this right now. We're in competition with social media, right? And it's not a bad thing. It's just that we have a social space that's not actually equitable for social society. So we need more equitable systems that are in the palm of our hands, that organizations like We the People and United Way could be at the forefront of, to bring to the world, to create a gold standard of how diversity, equity, inclusion, and access is being done worldwide.
Wow. Again, Anthony, I mean, you're you're blowing up the comments, and you know, I will say this, circling back to what I said earlier, you're a leader in this community. Your voice, your process, your thoughts, everything that you've said on this call, right, I think captivates people, right? So how does someone who's on this call, or maybe even watching this video later, you know, they see how dynamic you are, how successful you've been in mobilizing people, and they say to themselves, man, I can't do that, you know, I can't be a part of that. I'm not as dynamic as Anthony. What do you say to people who are on the sideline, thinking, man, I can't do it?
God used ordinary people to do extraordinary things. Be bold. Like, it's just that simple. I'm an ordinary man. God is using me to do extraordinary things, and I've dedicated my life to serve people. So if it's in your heart to do it, don't think about it. Just do it. You know what I mean? Just do it, because you might not wake up tomorrow. That's just the reality of life. That's the reality that we all face, right? So don't be afraid to exist in your existence. That's what society has done to a lot of us. Don't be afraid to be penalized. Be bold, be brave, you know, walk in your truth, walk in your existence, and God will use you, because he used me. I'm an ordinary person. It's nothing different from my chemical makeup and anybody on this call. You know, we can be used in an instance as long as we're willing and open to be used, right? To be an agent of change, to be a path cutter. And once we submit to that universal energy that connects every single one of us, that creates that united front, you know, that's brought United Way 100 years, right? That's because that's a united front around the nation, not just here in North Carolina or Greensboro, but around the world. And we have to have that same mentality, that we all play a very significant part. No matter how small we think we are, we create the full picture, every single one of us. And without everybody doing their due part, the picture will never be full. So, you know, go be great.
It's just that easy, huh?
It's just that easy.
Just that easy.
It's just that easy.
So I'm going to ask another question that we really want to hear from people in the chat, if there are other questions out there. You know, what can United Way do, or other organizations in our community do to begin bringing these systems together? Like, from your perspective, what are some of the things that need to be done in order to do that?
Well, if we're talking about upward mobility, first of all, we have to put a lot of pressure on corporations trying to bring jobs here to make money off the backs of our people, right? We have to make sure that changes, that money and that economic development is coming in a space that's accessible to our community, to actually build upward mobility in our communities. And as some of the bigger organizations in this community, we have to use our power structure and the collective power to hold these people accountable. We have to be bold in holding our leadership accountable. and demanding that our leadership actually reflects the development and the evolution of our community. And if we don't see that it says right here in the book that I'm reading called Winners Take All by Anad Ganardez, I think I might have messed his last name up, but it says a successful society is a progress machine. It takes in the raw material of innovation and produces broad human advancement. That's what the organization in Greensboro have to do collectively. We have to become a successful society, progress machine, meaning that we're going to be aggressive, as an organization and utilize our power to be the change and not talk about it. We're going to identify the materials of innovation. All right. If I'm an innovator, pour into me as an innovator. Make sure that my stage is big enough that we can touch as many people as possible, if that's the case, and help me to identify other change agents that can come in, and help Michael to identify other agents that can come in, and let's work together. Let's bridge these gaps. Let's really bring all these agencies together that are in our city right here, all these resources that are right here, and let's put them in people's faces. Let's put them right in people's faces to produce broad, not thin, broad human advancement.
Yeah, wow. Again, the ability for you to continue to navigate in this space, I think you're not following only your passion. I think you're following your gifts, and I think it's awesome too. I want to say thank you again, right, for lending your gifts to United Way, for being a voice that we would count as someone supporting our efforts. I mean, it speaks volumes, and I'm so thankful, and our entire organization is, and even beyond that, thank you for being willing to support this advocacy agenda by being a part of the think tank, right? By helping co-chair this thing. We're just getting started, and I hope everyone on today's call or watching the video is motivated to potentially help and support what we come up with. I know I would be otherwise. I was Anthony Morgan fan from day one.
Much love.
So Josh Cameron said not exactly a question, but dispersing the information in spaces like this to those who might not have access is critical. And I think that's coming from Josh Cameron. I think Josh, that's something very critical to consider, especially as we were talking about bubbles, right? People having their own individual spaces. I think in order for any agenda or for any movement to be successful, you do have to be in proximity, right? So we can't do everything in this office. You can't do everything in your home, right? So I think that is a perspective that we definitely need to be aware of and considering along the way. So guys, we're nearing our time. It's 12:56. I do want to give anyone who is holding out on asking a question, please submit that in the chat. Please. Maybe you've just done so well in answering questions along the way and motivating people that people are just speechless. But we do have some great questions. If or time for a few more great questions if you have it. Anthony, what would you add to this conversation you think that we've missed?
I don't know, man. I think we covered I loved it. I loved that we came in, we got straight to it, no wasted words. I think that, once we begin to evolve and really understand the full concept of what we are as human beings, I think that it's going to be truly beautiful to see people come together. Like, the sickness that's plaguing us, the murder that's plaguing our communities, it is literally not in humanity. This is not something that we have downgraded into an existence that is just, it's sad to see. And so I really appreciate these spaces. And as Josh said, it's very critical for the thought leaders in this world to have spaces to touch people like this. You know, like we have to do a better job at connecting these dots and figuring out how we amplify the message and make it, you know, just make it more accessible. You know, a lot of companies are exercising, you know, this DEI model, you know, but I've switched it around to like an idea model, which is you got inclusion, diversity, equity, but you also have to have access. You know, you can't have change if it's not accessible, you know? And so I just hope that everybody that was on this call, I hope that they, you know, I hope they got something out of it, man. I really appreciate everybody making time that was able to make time, you know, so just to express my gratitude to all of you guys, what you guys are doing at United Way. Shout out to Kari, you know, much respect to you guys. Shout out to Julie, and, you know, shout out to everybody at United Way. You guys are great. You guys grace me with love every time I'm over there. And I just, you know, I'm so blessed to be a part of this.
Wow. I mean, Anthony, thank you. We just had a couple last minute questions in the chat. Maybe we can touch them really quickly. We've got a couple minutes left. Tara said, would you, and we'll have to be brief, but would you say a little bit more about about We the People?
Yeah, so with that academic success coaching, you know, that's the only way to really build upward mobility is through mentorship, through job opportunity and job placement from middle school to middle management. So we're trying to create abstract ways to partner with different people like GTCC Job Development, different private aviation company to help kids get their pilot license. I mean, we're really trying to be abstract in the way that we do events. And we've only been around for 2 years. So as I said, I'm a baby in the game. I'm still navigating the space. We are currently building out our board and building out the full structure to be as powerful and potent as we can be, so that we can really take this thing to the next level. But over the next 5-10 years, I hope to pipeline a lot of kids into opportunity and to create generational wealth, you know, in a way that is really equitable for everybody, not just Black people, but everybody, you know, so that we the people, it really is just that. It's a collective of everybody that creates we, you know, a globe of diversity, a globe of ideas that are inclusive of all and accessible to all. And we're just getting started.
That's awesome. Connie, question for United Way, and this will be the last question, then we'll conclude. With what AJ shared, and for those of you who don't know, Anthony Morgan also has his nickname AJ. Shared, how can we build collective power locally and nationally, giving power to the people who are the most marginalized? I think that, you know, I'll say from United Way standpoint, everything that we do in the community is focused on trying to bring the community together, and we take the role of bringing the community together seriously, and it needs to be diverse. And specifically in what we're talking about today, you know, really step one, making sure that we engage the community around, you know, surveys to identify those issues of commonality, and then really bringing people to the table, and you know, having AJ, Anthony, be a co-chair of this think tank to help us really define some of our next steps, is how we're trying to address some of those issues. Tara said thank you for your response to that. So we do have to end today's meeting. You know, thank you, Anthony. I mean, like, everyone, please give Anthony, right, the round of applause virtually. I'm sure if you could see everyone, Anthony, you would see everyone clapping. You know, thank you so much for offering your insights and wisdom. You know, as we continue to work on our efforts to end local poverty, we will definitely remain in touch with all of you guys who joined us today. I want to again thank you for attending and submitting some of those excellent questions. We do hope the forum has given you a clear understanding of what we can do together as a community to end local poverty. And before we officially close today's meeting, I want to double down on United Way's commitment to ending local poverty. It's important for you guys to know we're not out here just raising money and passing it out, hoping it makes a difference. we're not this, not an old and dusty nonprofit. We're 100 years old, but man, we're innovative in so many ways, thanks to a lot of the leadership and staff and board and the community who have put us in this position. I just want you guys to know, we are definitely willing to make innovative, bold moves. And I know together we can, and I know we will continue to move families out of poverty. So thank you again for joining us. Rest assured, like I said, we will be following up with you in the near future to get you engaged in our advocacy at work. So take care for now. Have a great day, and we'll catch you later. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, guys. We really appreciate you. Thank you. Talk soon.
Thanks, Anthony.
Thank you.